Guess who's back in circulation? Blah 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 blah.
Wow. Welcome back to Sharp Stats, your number one Yankees analytics podcast. It's unrivaled, it's unquestionable. I will be your wedding MC this evening. I am talking Jake. I am joined by, you know her. You're going to tweet at her because we always tweet at her and we thank her. The Queen of Stats, KT Sharp. We're joined by John Boy, and we are talking about some of our favorite topics today. We've got some Guardy stats, so you know me and John are going to be rolling. We've got some hints towards the opener. We've got all the goods today. First, we'll go around the horn, 643 to the queen herself, KT Sharp. How are you doing, Katie?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Jake.
No
Yeah,
problem.
I'm feeling good. I'm doing my best to try and avoid these dog days of August. And I think, playing the Orioles definitely helps. And hearing Gary Thorne's home run calls for Gleyber Torres bombs is awesome. So yeah, obviously doing pretty good given what the Yankees have been doing the past week. And I'm just ready. I'm really fired up. I don't know why, but yeah.
Are you a little bit jealous that you're not an Orioles fan and you can't deep dive into what's going on and what's wrong with them?
There is not 1 inch of my body that has any sort of jealousy related to that. The only jealousy would be that I don't get to listen to Gary Thorne every day because I think he's a fantastic announcer, just in general. And maybe the fact that I don't get, that I don't have the chance to go to Camden Yards, which is a terrific ballpark.
Yeah, Camden Yards is really nice.
But other than that, no, I'm nothing. Not 1 ounce of my body is jealous.
Yeah, we stumbled down the Gary Thorne road the other day because he really is a great baseball voice, great hockey voice too. He's a great voice. How about that? I don't have the right to. I don't have the right to pin Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy too. I mean, not dropping names, but I did actually work with him a bit when I was at ESPN. I just had to put it out there just so people know that he is sincerely a great guy, and tells fantastic stories and really just really engaging and friendly to everybody, even a little researcher like me, when I worked with him. So, anyways, that's the Talking Orioles part of our show, I guess.
Yeah, I love when we do our Talking O segment. Katie, at first I thought you were going to say, I just wanted everyone to know, and then I thought you were going to say, like, flex on him that I was at ESPN. No, it's just a very genuinely nice compliment to Gary Thorne.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Jimmer Fredette, how you doing, big guy?
Good.
You look good.
Thank you. Jake, we've been doing the same thing with our hats, no hats. And it's getting strange. If you show up with the El Gary hat on, I have it on. If you show up with no hat on, I have no hat on. We're like synced up headwear wise. Some people in the pregame show were talking about it today. Like, do you guys plan your headwear? I was like, no. We're just on a really bizarre schedule. So I just wanted to let you know, Jake. Can you try to like avoid this?
Not to do our first weird deep dive of the show, but it might be a forehead acne thing. Like every time the backwards hat starts getting the forehead acne going. And welcome to Sharp Stats. We're starting over. Thank you for joining us. No, but that's all right, Jimmy. I will keep an eye out for the hats. Katie Sharp rocking the Yankee hat today, so she's our hat representative. And Katie,
a talking Yankee sweater.
Someone on the team with one of the more bulbous domes that cannot be contained by any hat, and cannot be contained on the baseball fields for 2 months now. Brett Gardner. One of me and John's openly favorites. I think he's one of your favorites too, Katie. So we can get we can get some of our biases out there. And let's be honest. And I think maybe it's where we should start. There was a scary year and a couple months with Brett Gardner where we were against the wall saying, well, he brings it in the clubhouse. He's showing these young guys intensity. And the numbers weren't really there, Katie. He had a rough last year. He had a tough start to this season. And we did have our concerns. What was going to be next? We, earlier in Sharp Stats, I think we sorted through some of those numbers to find out that Brett, among center fielders, which he was playing mostly to start the year, was actually doing pretty well. I think he had a lot of top 10 center fielder stats. Katie, since then, he's just playing good baseball. Not center field, not old men, just good baseball. So, Katie, wherever you want to start with it and wherever you want to land with it.
Yeah, what I want to start with is just this fact that, I mean, it just kind of blows my mind that Gardner is on pace to have the best season of his career, at the age of 35. If you think about that. And this is not like a small sample season either. It's not like he's, a platoon guy or he's playing, 2 or 3 days a week at the end of his career.
Right, that's what we were hoping. We were hoping we'd be like, Gardy's platooning. That's why he's doing so well.
No, this guy's playing every day. He's got, I think, almost 400. He had about 400 plate appearances as of Tuesday. And he's played, nearly, I think it's more than half of his games have been in center field. So it's not like he's just been stuck in the corners. And literally, he is 35 years old, about to put up the best numbers. And that is even when you adjust for this juiced ball season that we're seeing, and we know it exists. So I'm sort of taking his raw stats at face value, although I will come back to them at one point for a fun little fact. But even when you adjust for what's happening with the offense this year, he is on pace to have his best season, and I'll put that in with some numbers. The raw stats, obviously, I mentioned 490 slugging, 232 isolated power, 828 OPS, and a 346 WOBA. Those are all sort of all-encompassing power numbers, on pace to be the best of his career. His OPS plus, which is the adjusted number, so that's adjusting for this offensive era, is 118, also going to be the best of his career. And his weighted runs created plus, which is also adjusted, it's like a WOBA, adjusted WOBA, 115. That's also the best of his career. That means he's 15% better than a league average player, which is pretty damn good. So all these stats, the best of his career at the age of 35. And the other thing that is really surprising is he's still maintaining his awesome above average walk rate, about 10 to 11%. His strikeout rate is as low as ever. Actually, it would be the second lowest since he became a full-time player in 2010. So he only had one season with a better strikeout rate since then. And his pitches per plate appearances also would be his third best since since he became a full-time player. So we know what Gardy does. He takes his walks. He doesn't strike out. He works pitchers. And now he's basically hitting for the best power of his career, even when you adjust for the juiced ball. And he's basically putting it all together, as I like to put it, at the age of 35, which I think is pretty amazing. And the one thing I do want to mention is this is all coming with the fact that he is not experiencing yet, as we'll say, hopefully, a second half decline, which we know has been sort of the hallmark of his career, sort of the blotch on his career stats is that. And the stats show it. It's over a long period of time, so it's not really a small sample. He declined significantly in the second half. But this year, his numbers are absolutely better in the second half. I'll just throw them out there for you. 309, this is a batting average, triple slash line. 309, 382 OBP, 574 slugging in the second half. First half, 246 batting average, 328 OBP, 470 slugging. So those are significantly better numbers in the first half. Would be probably his best ever in the second half would probably be his best ever for a second half, obviously. So I think that he's doing it. I think maybe it's the DL stint that he did have sort of at the end of July, I think it was. Maybe that sort of refreshed him or whatever. But as you mentioned, he's been really raking actually since the middle of June.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to touch on is the OPS plus, because the most common thing you see is, the juice ball has rejuvenated his career. The juice ball is making him a good player. Well, the OPS plus, to break it down for dumb people like me, when compared to other people that are also benefiting from the juice ball, Gardner is still performing very well.
Yes, he's still 18% better than the league average, and and this also goes back to, you can compare it to Gardner in like 2012 too, because it compares across different years as well as in different parks and everything. So it's absolutely it's incredible.
Yeah, it's nuts. And the second half regression, that's the other thing. At the end of the first half, I was like, hey, Gardy's been really good this year. Fangraphs wrote an article about him, like, Gardy's having on pace for a really good year. And everyone was like, wait till the second half. And I was like, well, one, a bad second half doesn't make what I'm saying untrue. He's been good so far. So you can't just say that. Like, you have to acknowledge what he's done up to this point, and so far he's been really good. Second half regression always comes. He never goes on a IL stint, and he just did that. So maybe that does give him some, fresh breath and breathing room to not have that second half regression. And hopefully, eventually, we still turn him into a platoon player.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to, but the way he's been performing since that mid-June has been just, I mean, it's worthy of a starting spot every day. I remember back in April and May when we were worried about him, and that we had a good reason to. So what I did is I looked up, I sort of found his low point, and I know you can cherry pick dates and whatnot, but it really, I think, points to something on June 8th. He went 0 for 4. It was a game in Cleveland, or versus Cleveland or something, and his OPS actually dropped below 700. It was the last time actually that his OPS has dropped below 700 this season. But at that point, he was hitting 246, a 328 on base, which is really unheard of, really bad for Gardner, and a 470 slugging, which, props up the overall OPS numbers a little bit because he was still popping a few homers at that point. But overall, he was having it was even worse. I'll bring up those numbers again. Sorry about that. He was at 217 batting average, a 293 OBP. So that's terrible for Gardner. This is all through June 8th, and a 406 slugging. So not terrible, but yeah, he was legitimately bad for the first two and a half months. So that's through June 8th. Since then, this is his mark. 167 plate appearances as we're speaking here on Tuesday. A 315 batting average, a 401 on base, and a 610 slugging. That's a 1.011 OPS for basically more than 2 months now that we're seeing this. Over 160 plus plate appearances. All of those are like top 10, top 15 marks in Major League Baseball. So he's not just a good center fielder, as you mentioned before, Jake. He's a top 10, top 15 player over the last 2+ months.
And Katie, I'm a visual learner, and I'll try to make it more visual. Well, couldn't believe I remembered this correctly, but the Brett Gardner bottoming out point was that road trip at Cleveland, the Stephen Tarpley save game. Is when he started getting it going again. He hit a home run, and he was in a bad slump that series, and he hit a couple balls that would have been out at the stadium, and then he finally got one at Cleveland, and that kind of got him going. But, Katie, I know Jimmy and I have had a lot of fun with the one dot lately, so so glad to have you on that team.
Yeah, you can tell that I do listen to other podcasts by you guys. So.
And
that's evidence.
And I think the visual that I want to give people that I think, it's going to make some people's necks twitch because they're not going to be able to compute it. But basically what you just said was for 2 months, Brett Gardner has basically been playing at a similar level to 2017 Aaron Judge. That's what a 1.0 OPS is. So there's people out there, like pull over the car, get the cup of coffee away from your computer. For 2 months, Brett Gardner has been playing at a 17 Judge level. And I don't think people can compute that. And I kind of can't either, Katie.
Yeah, because you don't. I think the reason is you don't really notice it because yes, he hustles and he's got the grit and he's flashy in that way, but he's not flashy in the Aaron Judge way of hitting 500-foot home runs that are 115 miles per hour off the bat. He's getting those doubles, he's getting triples, he's hitting home runs that are just like screaming line drives that maybe it helps him with the short porch. But still they go over the fence if they're home runs. And so I think that's why people don't realize that he's been playing at such a high level over the last 2 months. But over those 2 months, what I said, he has 46 hits, and almost half of those are for extra bases. So that's pretty damn good. And what I really noticed in the difference, and there's probably a ton of different things that he's doing differently, but one that I really wanted to hone in on is the fact that his peripherals really haven't changed. So he was sort of still the same Gardner before. His strikeout rate and his walk rate are pretty much, contact rate are about the same as they were, in the first 2 months. But what he's doing, and I think this kind of is a testament to the fact that he is fresh and that he is maintaining his strength and everything in the second half. He's not wearing down. Is that he is basically getting the barrel on the ball in that sweet spot a lot more often in the since June 9th. So the way that I kind of wanna put this into perspective and put some stats to it. First of all, we have a stat called sweet spot percentage, and it's defined on Statcast as sort of like the optimal launch angle when you hit the ball. It doesn't really care how hard you hit the ball; it's just the launch angle that you hit the ball at. And his sweet spot percentage, that's percent of batted balls that he hits in this sweet spot launch angle, has increased from 24% to 39%. So 24% before June 9th, 39% since then. And that does come with sort of a little bit, a moderate increase in hard hit rate. So he is hitting the ball harder as well. But I think what it is that he is just seeing the ball well. I don't know what it is, but he's getting the sweet spot on the barrel of the ball a lot more often. And what that has done, and sort of the results of that, is that his ground ball rate has fallen from 50% to 42%, and his fly ball and line drive rate has increased by about the same number, from about 39% to 45%. So fewer ground balls, more balls in the air. But the important thing is here, you can have balls hit in the air and they can just be canned to corner or whatever, or easy outs to the outfield. What he's doing because of this, his ability to hit that sweet spot more often, is that he's hitting a lot more line drives and a lot fewer what I want to call lazy fly balls. So he's basically, what he's done is he's actually decreased the launch angle on his fly balls and line drives by about 8 degrees. And that's really important for Gardy, because some people like Aaron Judge, they can hit for a relatively high launch angle and still hit like lots of home runs and doubles or whatever, because they have so much power, they have such a high exit velocity. But Gardy doesn't hit the ball hard enough to do that. So he really needs that optimal launch angle in order to get extra bases. So the launch angle has dropped, and the exit velocity has increased as well on those fly balls and line drives. But this is the key stat that I really want to hammer home, is that so on Statcast they have certain classifications for different types of contact on the batted balls. So what I did is I looked at his fly balls and line drives and kind of looked at the different types of contacts that he's hitting. One of those is what's called hit under. So it's it's what you would think. It's hitting under the ball. And then the other one is basically just a weakly hit ball. So I looked at that combined percentage on his fly balls and line drives. And before June 9th, it was 60% of his fly balls and line drives were considered either hit under or weak, or probably both. And, there's overlapping there. Since then, since June 9th, it's 27%. So he's cut that rate in half, which is just a fancy way of saying is he's just hitting more missiles, hitting more lasers, and less lazy fly ball outs. And I think that's really what's driving his power. Even if you want to consider the juice ball or whatever, but he is just getting a lot better bat to the ball, and hitting that sweet spot. And I think that's that's kind of a testament to the fact that he isn't wearing down. He's seeing the ball well still, and he hasn't really regressed in that second half. And this is probably the biggest reason why he hasn't.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with injuries from last year. They say he was pretty banged up. If he didn't have his legs under him, so he's all arms, and maybe that's why he couldn't really drive the ball. He was making that weak contact or getting under it or something along those lines. Because I think he's healthier. I think he had a lot of stuff nagging him last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't discount the injuries. And that's kind of why I like to see that DL stint may have been the best thing for him, even though he was hitting relatively well before it. But to be able to rest his legs for those, it was only about a 10-day. I think he was.
Yeah, but maybe that's like he said he could play during it, and maybe last year because it was Shane Robinson show, they were like, "You have to play. We can't allow you to rest." And this year they're like, "You know what? Take 10 days off, Brett." No, you need 10 days off. Last year we couldn't give you this because everyone was banged up. Maybe that went a long way. I wanted to step away from the stats of Gardy this year before we move on. And in 2017, when I started actively tweeting and being part of this, I nicknamed him the Pulse. Said he's the pulse of the team right now because he was the old guy with a bunch of young guys. Judge, Gary, they're all rookies in 17. I made shirts. Go to shop.talkingyanks.com to get a Pulse shirt. Last year, it didn't feel like that. And then they traded for Kutch, and Gardy didn't start in the wild card game, and it didn't feel like he was as involved on the bench and such like a vocal guy. This year, he's all over the place. He was part of the Savage ejection. He just got ejected for saying nothing. He's banging his bat a lot. He's hitting triples and screaming. So I think even his leadership just seems to come with having better results. He just seems way more active and involved and kind of like the pulse of the lineup again.
Absolutely, and I think that those things are definitely related. The fact that he feels like he is contributing more on the field, and he's contributing, to the overall, the intangibles. I think those things are definitely related, and it's good to see for Gardy. Last year was a struggle. Last year it was tough to watch, and hopefully that this year he's gonna go out with a bang. I think.
Yeah, and kind of putting a tie on it. The one thing that we won't be able to get an answer on until we corner Brett, which maybe we will soon, but that the loft, the in his swing path, I wonder if that's something he worked on. Because Katie, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but 8 degrees difference, that's very significant, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a big drop in average launch angle, and the fact that it was going from 30 degrees. Which is, it's at the high end of what you want to do if you want to really hit home runs. But that's only good for guys, like I said, like Aaron Judge. 22 is pretty optimal for hitting home runs for a guy like Gardy, and for getting extra bases. It's not quite what you want to see, but it's definitely a significant drop, and I think it's benefiting Gardy, obviously, because he's more of a line drive hitter. We know that. And he's it doesn't make sense for him to try to hit it really high in the air.
Yeah, and I just wonder if that's something he's worked on, or if this year has just come together, or what it is. That would be interesting to look into a little bit. And just to emphasize, he's going to play his most games in center field he's played since 2013, and he was 29 years old. He's going to look like a Baseball Reference oddity when people go back and look. And by the way, he turns 36 on August 24th, so we've got a Gardy B-Day coming up. So get excited for that, people. And where Gardy does most of his work, God, this is a tight segue, is at Yankee Stadium, Katie, and that kind of leads us to our next topic. Home field advantage. You listened to the voicemail episode, and we thank you. This has been digging into my head a little more than Jim. I think I'm starting to get him to come over a little more. Although at the end of the day, you have to win 4 games in the series to advance.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page on this. I didn't think we were on different pages.
Oh well, I mean, I'm like super high always. That home field advantage is huge for this team, just the way it's built. Okay, I didn't know we were equal on that. Sorry, man.
I agree. The people that are saying we're only going to win in the postseason if we get home field advantage. No, I'm not on that. But we should do everything we can to get home field advantage.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's been slightly calming me down. I mean, Houston itself is kind of a hitter's park with a right field porch you can get to. Either way, we want that home field advantage. And Katie, we've been taking care of things at home. We want to beat the Astros. What are you bringing to us about home field advantage and maybe the importance or maybe things we're missing or something about the better teams we're playing at home or what?
Okay. Yeah, I'm on board with you guys. I think home field advantage is important. I think it's always important in baseball. Obviously, teams play better at home. It's a fact. But like John Boy said, you got to win on the road too, and this Yankees team is built to do both. And I think that's the best. That's kind of one of the big takeaways. But they do, home field advantage has been definitely a benefit for them this year as well. So I just wanted to start off at a really high level and then kind of break it down a little bit into a little bit more granular stuff. But at a very high level, they have the 4th best road record and the 3rd best home record. They're actually the only team that is in the top 4 of each of those.
I like that.
So, I mean, Houston and the Dodgers are both very good. I think they were maybe both top 6 or top 7 in each of them. But the Yankees are actually the only team that's in the top 4 in each of those. So that's good. And if you look at the some of the stats, just kind of like the hitting splits and everything, pitching splits for the Yankees, you kind of notice that their home road hitting splits are basically the same. Which that's very good. Then you venture over to the pitching stats and you see there's a big difference. The Yankees are much worse pitching on the road than they are pitching at home. Which
I find that interesting. People. Yeah, I find that interesting.
But it's interesting, and people are going to say, hey, the London thing, that really screwed them on the road, right? No, if you take it, the London was 18 innings, right? Okay, you take out those 18 innings, they're still really bad on the road. Just some of those stats. I mean, basically, at home, they are top 5 in offense, top 5 in pitching ERA. On the road, this is just overall. They have the best offense on the road in the majors right now, but they have the 3rd worst pitching ERA. Wow. And that is, even if you take out the 2 London games, they still have the 3rd worst ERA on the road. So that's concerning. I'm not gonna lie. So then I kind of wanted to. So we got those numbers. Those are overall numbers. Yes, those mean something because it's a large sample. But really, I kind of wanted to also then take the approach of, hey, we're not going to be able to play in Camden Yards in the playoffs, right? We're not going to be able to play against the Orioles. We're not going to be able to play against the Royals or whatnot. Yeah, damn sucks. But again, Houston, they're not going to be able to play against the Mariners. They're not going to be able to play in Seattle or against the Angels or in LA in the playoffs as well. So what I did is I kind of broke some stuff down when just looking at stats against teams that are above 500. So just a high level, I wanted to do that for a high level for records. So they are actually 1st in home games at home against teams with a winning record. Their record, they're 23-7 right now, I believe. But they're only 14th in road games, a 14th best record in road games against teams with a winning record. That's not great. That's not a good stat. And it kind of goes back. I think it's the pitching, to what I mentioned before. And then what I wanted to do is I said, okay, well, let's just kind of look at how they do against getting a little bit more down to the detailed stats, the pitching and not just the overall record, but the pitching and the batting against what I would deem good teams in the American League, because this is really where you want to hone in on how do we compare? How does Houston compare to these good teams in the AL? And basically, there's really a stratification in the AL of teams that are trying to win and teams that aren't. There's about 7 teams. It's let me pull them up. The ones that I did. It's the Indians, the Astros, the Yankees, the Twins, the A's, the Rays, and the Red Sox. Those are pretty much the teams in the AL that you want to compare yourself to.
You wanted to exclude the Red Sox, but I'm proud of you.
I did, but I felt like I had to include them because they're not going away. I mean, it's not like they're gonna start tanking.
They're trying to win. They're just doing a bad job of it.
Exactly. They're doing a very bad job getting walked off, in a bunch of games. Is not
Twist
good.
the knife.
Yes. Carlos Santana, thank you. Well, actually not, because we prefer the Indians to lose. But anyways, so what I did is I kind of just honed in on what the performance of the Yankees and relative to the rest of the AL has done against those 7 teams that are actually trying to win in the American League. And so what it came out, it's not that different, but I thought it would just be kind of worth mentioning. They have at home, the Yankees have the second best offense and the best ERA, so the best pitching, when you just kind of hone in on those games. On the road, they actually have the worst pitching among AL teams against those teams, even when you exclude London, and the best offense. So it's just, I mean, I don't know how you explain that or what you say. You just kind of hope that the offense is good enough to get over that, what's been dreadful pitching on the road. And I haven't, really dug into it that much to figure out why, but those are just the things that I came up with. So I think overall, I think we've seen what we have here. At home, they're really good on both sides of the ball. On the road, that pitching has been a problem, and that's what's caused, I think, their record to be so bad against the good teams on the road.
I'm going to kick this right back to both of you. I don't know who wants it first, but I'm normally pretty good at thinking of an excuse, even if it's a bad excuse. What do we have for the road pitching? Because I kind of got nothing right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know.
I'm kind of shocked by that. Just environment? The Yankees have good fans? That's my excuse for Paxton sometimes, but he's not really doing that anymore, so I have no idea.
I mean, there's a lot in the travel, but again, I'm comparing this to other teams, so it's not like it's just like everyone plays worse on the road, obviously, right? These are ranks against when compared for other teams in the same situations. So yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to wonder. I mean, the best bad excuse I've got is kind of the John Boy theory, where it's take care of your business at home and then kind of try to survive the road trips. But I don't know. I mean, it hasn't fully felt like that vibe. I mean, sure, we've had some getaway days and a couple punt days and things like that, but that's definitely worrisome. I don't know. I don't know, Katie.
I mean, it is worrisome, and the only thing that's propping that up is that we actually have a historically really good offense on the road. And so I think that I think what we're doing is we're seeing it, and we have seen it in Minnesota. We saw it even in Baltimore. And that's not including, the subset of good teams. But, we won some slugfests on the road, those 14-12 games in Minnesota. A lot of times in Boston, we've won a couple slugfests as well. So I can't explain it, but it does make a little bit of sense that our offense just kind of goes off on the road, and our pitching just kind of maybe lags behind and maybe gets a little bit maybe it's a little bit of a complacency because we think our offense has been so good on the road, or I don't know. I can't explain it. But those are the numbers that I ran. And so yeah.
Does that raise your home field advantage meter at all, John?
It's up. I'm just not using it as an excuse. People are pigeonholing it as an excuse if we don't get home field advantage, and I'm avoiding those people.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it in that way. I was just saying, does that even add a little more of a tweak to it? Do you think that's a wrench that is a carryover into the playoffs, or do you think that's something like in the playoffs you can't really use that as an excuse or reasoning because you're just going to be throwing your best guys, right?
I mean, if you're going into the playoffs thinking, well, we're going to lose on the road, I mean, that sucks for you like on a personal level. That sucks for your brain. Your brain's betraying you.
Well, no, I wouldn't say losing, but I'd say being hyper concerned about the pitching because I mean the stats that Katie just gave us. I mean those are truly alarming.
It's such a different animal. Just like we said, you have to take out all the games in Baltimore versus Baltimore and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't get those. I almost don't understand them or like why it's happening. So I'm just come and gone. What's the reasoning?
Well, I don't know, Jim. I do know this. I know there's one way that we could potentially combat some road pitching woes in the playoffs, and that would be everyone's favorite, the opener. We've had some great success with the opener this year. Katie, you gave us too many good topics this week. Again, tweet at KT Sharp and thank her. And we've got one great one that we're going to push back to a later episode of Sharp Stats. But what we're going to bring in, I won't say the closer because we do have a sharpest stat of the week. But this is kind of a Canely Ottavino Britain category, but they actually won't be opening for us. But Katie, the opener, it's getting a lot more play lately. Boone's talking about it in pressers. Obviously, the Yankees' record is good with it in a smaller sample size, but a sample size nonetheless. So, Katie, with the opener itself, are you feeling the opener? Should we start getting excited about that road opener and throw out some of that road pitching numbers, or what?
Well, I don't know. I'm a little bit mixed, as I am with a lot of things. But yeah. So the stats look good, but I'm gonna try and explain why the record looks good. They've played 13 opener games, and they're 12-1 in those games. And that one loss was that in Toronto about a week ago or so. So that record looks fantastic. But I've been tracking this all season, and when you actually kind of boil it down, and the first thing I do want to say is that 13 games is an extremely small sample. So, and the reason why I say that is because your perception can change from game to game because it is only 13 games. So actually, the way that the stats break out now is that they have a 4.54 ERA in opener games and a 4.35 ERA in other games. So right now, the ERA, and this is all pitching, it's not just for the opener guy or whatever. This is the team ERA is actually higher, about 0.2 of a run higher. When I looked at this before Monday's game, which was the second game of the doubleheader. When I looked at it before that, they were actually about 0.2 of a run lower. So that kind of shows you how their opener ERA was about 0.2 of a run lower than their other games ERA. So that kind of shows you how much these numbers can shift from game to game. But it's still worth noting that whether you look at it, whether it's a little bit higher, whether it's a little bit lower, it's not, the stats say they're not actually getting an entirely great benefit on the pitching side. It's not like this guy is like sporting a 4 ERA, which is really good in the AL, in case you didn't know. But so that's the pitching side. The thing that the dirty little secret is that the Yankees are averaging 7.7 runs per game in those opener games, and about 5.7, 5.8 in other games. And that's the difference. These have been they've not been blowouts, but for some reason the team just goes off on offense. There's been 4 double-digit game runs. The fewest runs they've scored is 4. So they haven't scored fewer than 4 in any game with the opener, and I think that's the reason why you see that record as 12-1, because you'd expect them to lose a few more games based on the ERA that they've pitched to and the amount of runs that they've given up. But based on the number of runs they've scored, it's helped. Yeah, obviously.
Are we labeling it a little bit of fool's gold because it's 2 more runs per game, or is it Chad Green finally giving those pump-up speeches that everyone's been talking about?
I don't know. So what I did is I also looked at the teams that we were playing with these opener games, right?
Ooh, I'm interested.
So it's actually a pretty good mix. There are 6 of the 13 games were against Boston, Tampa Bay, Houston, and Cleveland. Good teams, right?
Yeah.
So that leaves 7 against not good teams, which were the Orioles, the White Sox, the Royals, and the Blue Jays. And no team we've done it more than twice against. So it's not like, of those 7 against the bad teams, it's like 5 of them were the Orioles. It's a really even distribution across the number of teams. But that breakdown, so the 6 good teams that we've used it against and 7 bad teams, and you can't really say it's because we're just using it, we're beating up on bad pitching staffs, because obviously Houston and Cleveland and Tampa Bay have very good pitching staffs. So that eliminated that theory. But I really have no explanation other than to say it's a pretty small sample size, and I am a little bit worried that we won't be able to keep up those 7.8 runs per game, because no team has ever really done that again for an entire season, obviously. But anything can happen in 14 games, and I think what the problem with the ERA is actually Chad Green has been fantastic as an opener. He's done, what is it now? I believe it's 10 of the games. 10 of the games or 11 of the games.
Holder has 1 and Chad has the rest.
No, Holder and Tarpley have 1, so he's done 11.
Tarpley opened for us?
Yes, Tarpley did 1 opener. It was against Boston.
That was in
London.
In London. Yeah. Those don't count, Katie. Those aren't real.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then we got to take out the offensive stat. Anyways, I don't feel like doing that. It happened. It's on the list. But Chad Green, as an opener, has pitched to a 1.80 ERA. And that's actually a little bit miscued, because the first 2 times he was an opener, he gave up 3 runs in those 2 appearances over 2 2/3 innings. If you exclude that, he hasn't given up a single run. So in the other 9 games, it's 12 1/3 innings pitched for him, 0 runs, 4 hits, 4 walks, and 22 strikeouts in those 11 games, 9 games, 9 most recent games as an opener. So Chad has been fantastic as the opener. It's what happens actually right after him, and it's what I think people call like the bulk
guy.
And you get Nestor. You've gotten you got mostly Nestor, and he's not been good. As much as we love watching Nestor pitch and all the funky stuff that he does, he's been pretty terrible as that bulk guy.
Yeah, well, I think we like to combine Chad and Nestor a lot, and Chad really saves Nestor there.
Exactly. People have been citing the Chester stat or whatever you want to say it. But really what it is it's all Chad, and it's not good Nestor. And then you have like the Mantiply, or however you say his name, I don't know, he's done. And you have Tarpley in a couple of those. The one that has been good, and it did once, was Luis Cessa. He was a bulk guy once. He didn't give up any runs. It was about 4 innings pitched. Don't have the game right now in front of me. But But really, I think that the ERA numbers would be a little bit better if we actually pitched someone competent as that bulk guy. Which brings me to my next point, is that in the playoffs, Nestor isn't going to be that bulk guy. Tarpley isn't going to be that bulk guy, right? Chance Adams isn't going to be that bulk guy. He was for, I think, 1 or 2 of the games. He was horrible. You are going to have a much better player in that situation. So I think that 4.54 ERA that I cited earlier is a little bit skewed as well because of the guys that they throw out there. When if we were using this in the playoffs, they wouldn't be doing it. So that sort of gives me a little bit more optimism that this could be a really good strategy in the playoffs because that bulk guy could be Domingo Germán. It could even be a guy like Tommy Kahnle, or they could go to Sevy maybe. I don't know what they're going to do, but
I'm so
it's
interested.
Be someone better than Nestor Cortez or Chance Adams or Stephen Tarpley.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Sessa. I mean.
Oh, don't do it! Don't do it, Katie.
No. I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't want Sessa in a high leverage situation either. But if you had to throw him out there as the bulk guy, because no one else could do it, he's the one I would want at this point. I'm not going there. I'm not going there though. That's a whole nother Sharp Stats episode, so we won't go down that wormhole.
Yeah. Well, we do have some fun other things planned for future Sharp Stats, so I'm excited about that. Are we ready for stat of the day?
I'd say the only thing I want to get out there before stat of the day, and I don't know if you guys have opinions on it, but it really is wild. I've danced around it for a lot of the season, but Johnny Lasagna gets the call today. How much can he show us in the next month and a half? Does Davey get the September call-up? Does he have any magic in his arm? And the Severino wild card is crazy itself, Katie. And Jim, I think I might have fallen into something that can get you excited. I know one of your favorite things is when the starting pitcher passes the baton.
Yep.
Maybe we could kind of get that feeling going with the Yankees bullpen in the postseason. Like, hey, all right, 4th inning, Kahnle, you're up. Do your job.
Don't fuck it up.
Dylan, are you healthy? Pass it along. Ottavino, Britton, Chapman. It's crazy that if this bullpen is right going through the playoffs, they can really do some excited things. So I just wanted to get that baton thing in your head, John.
Yeah, I like passing batons. Well, no, I was never a relay racer.
It's actually tough, man.
Yeah.
I know the track people get torn apart if you don't do it successfully, but it's kind of hard. Katie, the final leg of our 4x100 meter. The sharpest stat with KT Sharp. What do you have for us today? I think it's about a friend of ours who's some might say is otherworldly.
Otherworldly as in God? As in Geo the God? Is that a good one?
I like it, yes.
Let's go with Geo the God. And we're gonna do this Geo the 2-strike God.
Okay.
So we all know how awesome Geo is in two-strike counts. It's been said many times in many of my tweets. They are even starting to say it on the air on the Yes broadcasts, which is awesome. So we know that I believe he's got the highest batting average of any player in 2-strike counts this year. But what I wanted to do was just to have a little fun and compare what he's doing to historically to other Yankees. So the stat that I used is what's called a split OPS plus. So it's OPS plus, so I can compare to different eras. And what it does is it compares his OPS in 2-strike counts relative to the rest of the league. So it's one of those 250. A 150 is 50% better than the rest of the league. An OPS better, 50% better than the rest of the league. We've talked about this. So Gio Urshela right now, this is on Tuesday, he has a 209 split OPS plus in 2-strike counts, which basically means that he's twice as good as the league average hitter in those counts. So that's awesome. So going back to 1988, which is as far back as Baseball Reference has sort of this pitch count data. there are 4 Yankees that have a split OPS plus in 2 strikeouts of at least 200, so twice as good as the league average. And this is with I think I did a minimum 100 plate appearances. Gio's up to about 190 right now, in case you're wondering. So Gio and these 3 other guys have done this. Bernie Williams in 1999, he was at 203. Paul O'Neill in 1994 at 209, and Jason Giambi in 2002 at 217. So Gio and those 3 guys, that's the group. That's the stuff that he's doing right now. And you absolutely see it. You love it, and go Gio the God.
Go Gio the God. He's the best.
He's a folklore come to life.
Exactly.
Yeah, right? It's an American hero. Colombian hero.
Colombian hero.
Colombian
Jim, you know
hero.
Gio the God's birthday?
October 11th, 1999.
October 11th, not 99. Holy smokes.
Make him really young. Make him like 19. 20.
That'd be cool. Should we start that rumor that Gio Urshela is actually 19 years old?
Yeah.
That's the only thing the folklore is missing right now. And yeah, Katie, I know they. That's incredible, and they were doing some of it on the Yes Network last night. What is it like hitting 290 with 2 strike counts, and the league average is
293.
and the league average is $170 or something like that. I mean, it's
exactly
every stone you start to turn over on the Gio Urshela thing is just it's really unbelievable, and it's crazy that the metrics back it up and everything. It's why it's a beautiful sport. How about that?
Yeah. So he's got your birthday? Gio's got your birthday?
Yeah.
And Didi's got my birthday. So when they're at short and third, both our birthdays are represented.
Wow.
Katie, is there a Yankee with your birthday?
I don't know. I've never really looked.
Is your birthday August 4th?
No, that's Brett Gardner's birthday, right? No, Brett Gardner is sometime in August because it's it's actually my niece's. It's my niece's birthday. Is Brett Gardner's birthday?
August 24th.
Shout out to my niece. Yeah, shout out to my niece. Same birthday as Brett.
What month is your birthday in, Katie?
April.
All right.
April 17 is my birthday. So hey, feel free to write that down and tweet at me. Yeah. Thanks.
Write that down. Wow. Everyone.
Wow.
Has to birthday present.
No one has your birthday. Wow. Okay, here are your two closest comps. April 4th is Cameron Maben, and April 25th is Luis Cessa.
A little bit.
Now, if Cessa didn't exist, Aaron Judge would be your closest with April 26th. And actually, Kyle Higashioka.
I'm sandwiched between Maven and Judge. That's pretty cool.
I forgot. I didn't notice Higgy here. He's April 20th, so Higgy and Maven.
Higgy's not on the big team right now.
All right.
Yeah, he's not on the roster, so he doesn't count.
Perfect.
Well, speaking of the big team, Katie, this has been another great episode of Sharp Stats. You are our analytics department, and you bring it every time, and you genuinely did give us too many topics to cover this show. John, how you doing?
Gio's 2 full years younger than you, Jake.
Well, and we end on a sad note in Denver today. Katie, thank you. Jimmy, no, thank you.
So many of our young listeners aren't going to realize how much of a dagger that is when you're older. It's fucking
yeah.
Maybe I just haven't gotten my opportunity. No, I so have, and it's not good. If you've been listening, thank you so much. 5 stars. Tweet at Katie. Thank you so much for coming on. And let's go Yanks. Is that what we say here?
Tell them, Grams.
Do it.